All right, so after the head, we'll kind of go back towards the forearm, and one thing to note is that there are no muscles below the carpus or the knee, and so it's all tendons and ligaments. So in order for the horse to be moving its front leg, it's going to have to be contracting muscles on that front side of that leg to bring that leg further out in front, or to contract it, and flex it. And so bend at the knee or flex at that hock and pastern joints, then it's going to be from muscles that are contracting on the back side of that horse's leg. So again, here with that horse is flexing through that fetlock and the pastern joints and coffin joints and that knee, we're going to have muscles that are way up here contracting at the back, and then we're going to have tendons and ligaments that are going to be contracting and pulling things from there. And then when we want that leg straighten out in front, we're going to have muscles that are going to contract at the front part of that horse's leg and then pull on tendons along the front part of that horse's leg to bring it straight in front. But so some of the muscles that are involved in the forelimb would be the deltoid, and so this is our shoulder muscle, just like in ourselves. Then we have the triceps, which just like ourselves is going to be on the back part of the humerus. And then the biceps, we can't really see in this picture. They're going to be hidden, but they would actually be up in front of that humerus, sort of deep below that deltoid. And then the pectoral muscles are going to be the ones that are just in front of the chest. The trapezius is another major muscle from the neck going into the back, and it inserts into the shoulder. So it's going to be important for raising that head and bringing that shoulder in towards the body. The latissimus dorsi are also back muscles that are going to connect into the shoulder, and then sort of into that forearm, and bring that arm back towards the body. And then we have the intercostal muscles, which are going to be those between the ribs, and these are going to help in breathing when the horse is trying to make vocalizations and doing things that sort of would override the action of the diaphragm. And then we have the abdominal muscles, just we would have them ourselves in the front part of our body. And then the other muscle that's really important along the horse's back is going to be this one right here, this longissimus dorsi. And so this is going to actually go all the way from the neck back to 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 the pelvis. And so it's going to be really important just moving the and the entire back across that whole horse. Similar to the hind end, we don't have any muscles below the hock or the knee. And so we're going to focus on the muscles that are up in this hindquarter. And so the gluteals, these are going to be sitting on the back of the pelvis, just like the back side of our pelvis for the gluteals. Then we're going to have the quadricep muscles, which just like for us are sitting in front of the femur. They're going to be sitting in front of the femur for the horse. Then we have the gastrocnemius, which is going to be that major muscle of the calf. above that horse's hock, or just like our heel. And then we've got the hamstrings, the tendinosis and semimembranosus, which are going to be running down the back of the horse. Horse's leg behind the femur, just like they are for ourselves. Regarding some muscle conditions in the horse, the myopathies, we have exertional rhabdomyolysis, which refers to muscle pain that happens sometimes recurrently, so exertional rhabdomyolysis, and horses are going to show severe muscle pain and stiffness. They're going to tie up, as we call it, where they're reluctant to move. They might urinate with sort of a brown coloring, and that's because there's been muscle damage that causes the muscle proteins to come out in the urine. And if you were to take a sample, one of the enzymes, creatine kinase, would be very elevated in the blood, and again, that's going to be a result of breaking down a muscle. We do see this recurrent form of the syndrome in some thoroughbreds, standardbreds, and Arabians that tend to be very highly spirited. And we believe that it's caused by a calcium channel defect that prevents it from kind of being sequestered back after a stimulus for exercise. Polysaccharide storage myopathy, or PSSM, is another disease that can show up with sort of a tying up type of syndrome, where horses have some muscle pain and stiffness, some exercise intolerance. And we do see this more in quarter horses. And this is actually a result of polysaccharide storage, so the glycogen storage that's within the muscle. These horses store a lot of glycogen, but then they are unable to break it down, so they are unable to sort of get that fuel that they need for exercise. Another disease that we'll talk about a little bit later on is hypokalemic periodic paralysis, HYPP. This is a disease that we see in quarter horses in the impressive bloodline. He was a really famous stallion that had this disease and passed it on to all of his thousands of offspring. These horses can show intermittent muscle weakness and tremors, where they'll sort of have muscle tremors, fasciculations is what we call them, and it can get so bad that they can fatigue and you can have paralysis. And if they're tremoring, you might have some, it could affect the diaphragm and other muscles of the body and affect the horse's breathing, and they can die from a HYPP attack. All right, so now we will get into the hoof and the lower limb. So with the hoof, we've got a picture of the horse's hoof without a shoe on, and then we have a picture of the horse's hoof with the shoe on. So a lot of times you'll hear horses without shoes on, they're called barefoot, and then when they have shoes on, they're called shod. And so the hoof provides 4 major functions for the foot. One of them is protection. So it is going to, this hard surface of the hoof is going to provide protection to the inner structures. So on the inside, we've got that coffin bone. We also have some tissues called lamina that are very delicate. We've got all, and part of that vascular network. And so that hoof is going to be very protective of all of those structures on the inside. The hoof is also very important for supporting the weight of the horse and reducing concussion, because a horse can weigh 1,200, 1,500 pounds. Most of that weight is going to be in the front legs, and then in each leg they could be carrying 300 pounds, and then you can imagine that when they're jumping, all of those concussive weights are going to be applied to that hoof as well. They're also important for preventing slipping. And as we've discussed earlier, they're important for helping with circulation. So for regarding the supporting weight and reducing concussion, again, this is sort of part of the structure of the horse's hooves. Even though that hoof wall is very rigid for protection, it's actually kind of flexible. And so when the horse puts weight down into their feet, not only does the pressure go down, but that horse's hoof can actually expand to the side. And so that kind of absorbs some of this weight, absorbs some of this concussion, and then releases it when that horse brings their leg back up. And even when a horse is wearing horseshoes, this can still happen. There are some people who think that it doesn't happen to the same degree if a horse is wearing horseshoes, and so that's where there's kind of a movement of people towards barefoot horses and trying to keep horses barefoot. But the reality is that shoes also provide a lot of extra protection of the bottom of the horse's hoof that are important for some higher level horses that are doing a lot of work. The hoof is going to be important to prevent slipping. Even without the horseshoe, you can also imagine back at this picture that we wind up having sort of a suction cup effect when horse is moving, and so that's going to sort of suck down to the ground and provide a little bit of a grip. Also with the toe of the horse, whether they're shod or unshod, this toe part can actually dig into the ground and can help move that horse's hoof forward and give them a little bit of extra traction. And then for circulation, we know that there are lots of veins and arteries that are going to run through the foot, and because of the actions of the hoof wall and the digital cushion, when that horse is pushing weight down into that foot, that blood is going to sort of pool, and then when that's released, the horse lifts their leg, there's going to be this pushing action and the rebound of that hoof digital cushion, and that's going to push that blood back up towards the heart, and so it's going to promote that return of blood. And this is just a picture showing all of those blood capillaries that are located throughout that horse's hoof. So if we look at the external anatomy of the horse's hoof, we've got the hoof wall, which is going to be on the outside. We have the sole, which is this sort of white part right through here. In between the sole and the hoof wall, we have this area called white line, which usually doesn't really appear white because it's filled with debris, and it's kind of like the underside of your fingernail, sort of that quick that's underneath it. Then we have this central area here, and this is called the frog. We've got the central sulcus of the frog, that little groove right here. And then we also have these collateral sulcus of the frogs that are kind of here in the side. From the horse's hoof wall, we would have the toe, we have the quarters, and then we have the heel. And when that hoof wall is kind of coming around towards the heel of the horse, they're going to curve in, and called the bars of the horse's hoof. And this up here would be the angle of the hoof wall, and then these bars are coming down here. And then back up here, this is going to be the bulb of the horse's heel up in here. So again, the horse's hoof wall from the outside. Then we've got the bars that are kind of turning in right through here. We've got the sole, the frog, and those would be the ones that you would need to know for the internal or that anatomy of that horse. If we look on the internal structures, of course, we have the long pastern bone, short pastern bone, the coffin bone, and then here's this navicular bone. And so again, here we can see the top or just the end of that long pastern bone, the short pastern bone, the coffin bone, and here we can see this navicular bone. We can also see this digital cushion, this spongy area. This here is going to be the frog. And then we've got the horse's side part here, which is that hoof wall. Then we have this really intricate structure here, which are called the lamina. On the outside here, we've got the insensitive lamina, and those are part of that hoof wall. And then on the inside, we have the sensitive lamina. So what's really interesting about the horse's hoof is that it's actually a capsule. This hoof wall can be entirely removed from the horse. And so this hoof capsule is going to have this hoof wall and the underlying structures. And then on the inside of that hoof wall, we have these insensitive lamina. On the inside of that, and so this would be a horse's hoof that's had its hoof wall removed. And so here we can see the sensitive lamina. And so these would be this B section right through here. Here we've got this digital cushion, the spongy area, the coffin bone through here, and then this navicular bone. You can also kind of see some of these tendons that are coming back down in here and inserting. Also, we have what are called the lateral cartilages, and so this is cartilage that's kind of sticking up from the side of the hoof wall, and it's just cartilage. It can become bony in some horses, but it just gives a little bit more structure and framework for that horse's hoof. All right, so this is a video of the horse's hoof with their insensitive and sensitive lamina all the way through to their coffin bone. All right, so this is a set of tweezers holding on. This is the hoof wall. These are the insensitive lamina, and then this is the sensitive lamina. And you can see they're like little finger-like projections, almost like Velcro coming together, just back and forth like. And then this here would be the coffin bone. All right, and so what I want to point out is that this is bone and this is hard. But this sensitive lamina through here, these are really stretchy and mobile. So what you can see is they're going to stretch it, out. And I know the video quality is not great when I make it big like this, but you can see it's swiveling from side to side, so it can shear back and forth, and that's going to allow with that expanding. Now from the side, he's going to pull it in, push it in, and pull it out, and push it in and pull it out. So that's how much movement we can get and then here he is shearing So there's actually a lot of movement from that hoof wall to that cannon bone, thanks to those lamina. All right, so when we think about the rest of that lower limb, it's going to support the weight of the horse, because 60% of the horse's weight is going to be in that front end. So even if you have a 1,000-pound horse, 600 pounds are going to be in the front end, so that's 300 pounds per foot. And really that coffin bone is really going to be doing all of the work towards the end of those bones. Be the last one that's going to sort of absorb all of that concussion. Before we get to the hoof. And so we're going to have that bone support with the help from the lamina, the hoof capsule, that navicular bone, suspensory ligaments, and some other ligaments that are all holding everything into place. So again, here we've got the lower limb. And then again, we remember that there are no muscles below the knee or the hock. And so the movement, again, through this lower limb is going to be the result of tendons and ligaments. And so I'll mention these more in a second. So this is a picture very similar to the one that I have, where you can see here's the cannon bone, the long pastern bone, short pastern bone, coffin bone, navicular bone. And here we can see some of these great big tendons that are running all the way down alongside that horse's leg. Orange one through here too. All right, so here's going to be, this would be an extensor tendon